After I finished Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, it got me thinking about the idea of video game remakes and the abundance of them in recent years. Not just how many there are, but how almost all of them are actually better than the original game. There are some exceptions like Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4, those are hot garbage, but for the most part, these remakes take everything that I loved about the originals and fine-tunes them to such a degree that for me, they've pretty much replaced the original and made them obsolete. Any issue that I had with the original Metal Gear Solid 3 has been completely fixed in Delta, while leaving the overall game intact. The story plays out shot for shot exactly the same as the originals, from the cutscenes to the level design, the objectives and boss fights, even the voice acting was left alone. What they did change, however, are the controls and the streamlining of some features. I'm very happy to report that Metal Gear Solid 3 no longer controls like poorly aged crap. No longer do you have to stand still and go first person to aim your weapons. No longer do you have to choose between a painfully slow prone crawl or a subtle as a train wreck jog. No longer do you have to manually open the menu and then another sub-menu to change your camouflage. I'm proud to say that Metal Gear Solid 3 is finally a game playable in the modern day without frustrating, outdated game design. Third-person aiming, crouch walking, quick camo changing, even quickly reloading the game if you screw up is now an option without resetting the whole game. And of course I have to mention the insanely polished remake of the unlockable demo for the cancelled game Guy Savage, made by Platinum Games. This demo is so good, I wholeheartedly hope it becomes a full release one day. In addition to Guy Savage, the Ape Escape levels have been fully remade as well.
Gotcha!
All of this, on top of the absolutely stunning modern graphics, you bet your ass I'm never playing the original again. It's like having a plain steak your whole life and then realizing it can be tenderized, seasoned, and marinated. There's no going back. Another perfect example of this is Gears of War Reloaded, which came out right around the same time as Metal Gear Solid Delta. And like Delta, Gears of War Reloaded is a one-to-one remake of the original with the entire game's structure and mechanics intact, but enhanced.
Is that right?
In Gears Reloaded, you can now roll in any direction instead of being locked into a plus sign of forward, back, left, and right. Now you can mark enemies like in Gears 3, and aiming feels better thanks to the blooming crosshairs. In addition to quality of life upgrades, an entire level was added that never appeared in the original game on Xbox. Only on the PC version could you play through this extra level near the end of the story where Delta Squad tries to avoid a Brumac throughout the city, ending with a satisfying boss fight for one of the most iconic monsters in the series. And of course I have to mention how much better the visuals are in Reloaded. While the gameplay itself feels just like the original, with improvements mechanically and technically with a higher frame rate, the cutscenes have been completely rebuilt from the ground up. The new cutscenes improve the storytelling through its better facial animation and reimagined cinematography. You can actually see how certain events impact characters in the remake, and some of those redone cutscenes are just so much more fun to watch.
We will win this war. It's only a matter of time.
No, we're here for Alpha the Resonator. Come on!
Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater, and Gears of War Reloaded are examples of one of the two different types of remakes. First, you have the faithful type of remake. It's like a remaster but built from the ground up with minimal changes. Other examples of one-to-one remakes include Shadow of the Colossus for PS4, Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII, Demon's Souls for PS5, Destroy All Humans, and the Crash and Spyro trilogies.
Halt! Who goes there?
You're up.
The second type of remake is the reimagining. These remakes take all of the most familiar elements of the original game, but utilizes them in a much different way, usually including new story ideas, new characterization, and overall altered gameplay mechanics. Examples of a reimagining include Final Fantasy VII Remake, Dead Space, Silent Hill 2, and Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4. As I stated at the beginning of this video, I genuinely love these remakes more than the original games. Take Final Fantasy VII for example, which is probably the most radically different remake from its original version. The original Final Fantasy VII was one of the most important games I played in my childhood, and it played a huge role in defining some of the key aspects that makes a game interesting to me. Final Fantasy VII is the reason I love a young badass swordsman protagonist, and why I love stories that revolve around rebelling against tyrannical governments and the diesel punk aesthetic. But you know what I don't love? Boring, outdated, turn-based combat. Every time I try to go back and play the OG FF7, it doesn't take long before I get bored and drop it. I just don't have the patience or the imagination I did as a kid to get into random battles and just sit there and wait 20 seconds to press X to issue a command to my party member and then sit there and wait my turn to press X again. It's the same reason I can't bring myself to play Pokemon anymore. It's just boring to me. When I play a game, I don't want to be the director. I want to be the movie star. I want to do the action myself in real time and really feel in control of my character. And that's exactly what I got with Final Fantasy VII Remake. I could finally, after all these years, actually get to control Cloud Strife and swing the Buster Sword for myself. I remember getting Kingdom Hearts as a little kid specifically because I saw Cloud Strife on the back of the box. And after playing Kingdom Hearts, the gameplay blew my mind, and all I could think of was how great it felt to do acrobatic real-time combat as Sora, and how I wished I could do the same for Cloud. Well, I got my wish, and while the remake isn't perfect, I'd rather play it than the original any day, especially since the Midgar portion of the original game was always my favorite part, and my interest fell a lot after leaving the city. I have this habit of replaying games, but only up to a certain point and then restarting again. Well, since the entirety of Remake was set in Midgar and expanded, it's like it was made just for me. And when it comes to Resident Evil, I've always loved this series, ever since I was a little kid and I first watched my dad explore the Raccoon Police Department and get gored by a licker while I cowered behind my blanket. Resident Evil is my favorite game series, but I absolutely hate the original game's fixed cameras and tank controls. I've tried to play through the original Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, and 0 so many times, but I just can't stand how they feel. When Resident Evil 4 came out, the original, it felt perfect. The over-the-shoulder camera angle, and how I wished the original games played like 4. Well, I got that wish too. Lucky me, huh? And on the topic of horror remakes, I feel the same way about Dead Space, Resident Evil 4, and Silent Hill 2. I entirely prefer the remakes, and they have totally replaced the originals for me. And yes, I've played the originals many times. They were all as good as they could have been for the time period they released, but they could always be better. And the remakes made them better in pretty much every way. Whether it's the additions of side quests and Isaac Clarke's voice actor in the Dead Space remake, or the massively improved voice acting and combat in Silent Hill 2. Same goes for Resident Evil 4. The only thing I'll miss from the OG RE4 is that goofy-ass version of Leon, but even then, just for the novelty of it, I can go watch the cutscenes on YouTube. And I can admit it, I care immensely about graphics and animation. What matters most to me is how a game looks and how a game feels. Any other aspects like story and writing are purely secondary to me. 99% of the time, the remake looks better and feels better too. So that's the version I want to play. And this isn't even a new thing. This has always been true. I've never once met anyone that preferred the original Resident Evil on PlayStation to the remake on GameCube over 20 years ago. I've seen a lot of boomer, back in my day ass gamers on YouTube who are salty and stuck in the past. Look, I understand loving something just the way it is, because I can also be a salty back in my day ass gamer. And these days that mindset is justified most of the time, but we have to admit when it's not. It's time to accept when something can be updated for the better for both new fans and old. And the originals are always still there if you really can't stand that Maria isn't as sexy in Silent Hill 2 Remake, or if you're really upset that Conquer Live and Reloaded censored the C word, or if you really cannot tolerate the story changes in Ratchet & Clank on PS4, as if you're playing Ratchet & Clank for the story. People who like to complain just for the grift, because negativity sells. Sometimes it's warranted, but when it comes to the attitude towards remakes, it's really not. I can't get along with that. I'll be honest, even if it's unpopular. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Consider throwing me a like and subscribe if you can relate to my love for remakes. Or you can dislike the video and write a mean comment if you want. Thanks for watching. Till next time, adios.